It's rare that you don't hear a negative opinion from anybody about a coaster, but I've yet to hear anybody complain about Fury 325. Is this the best Giga coaster in the world? And is there anything else it could do even a little better? Let's find out. What's up guys, Dr. Coaster here and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing Fury 325, a B&M Giga coaster located at Carowinds in Charlotte, North Carolina. Or is it Fort Mills, South Carolina? Just kidding, it's both, but more on that later. Before we drop into this review, if you haven't already, then be sure to drop the video a like. This helps me fight the YouTube algorithm. While you're at it, subscribe to the channel as well for more roller coaster and theme park content just like this. I visited Carowinds for the first time earlier this year, and I was able to ride Fury 325 8 times during Pass Holder Preview Day. At night, in the cold, and in the rain. Ouch. Getting off of the coaster, I knew that Fury was one of the elite of the elite, but I also knew I wasn't getting it at its full potential. So that brings us to my most recent visit. I returned to Carowinds on Saturday, August 20th, 2022, and it was running like a dream, and continued speeding up throughout the entire day. As I mentioned, Fury 325 is one of the few coasters that I haven't heard anyone complain about. And while I've got a couple nitpicky critiques, I 100% fall into that same category. So without further delay, let's get into this. First, let's talk a little bit of history and background. Fury 325 opened to the public on March 28th, 2015. This would be the first B&M Giga coaster to open in the United States, following the open of Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland just a few years prior. And it captivated the instant attention of any and all coaster enthusiasts, especially at the park where it would open at, Carowinds. Looking back now, there's no question that Fury fits this park perfectly. In fact, it's now unquestionably the face of Carowinds, and it has steered the park in a completely new direction. Carowinds was at the time, and continues to be, a transformation project for Cedar Fair, and Fury was the coaster that put this park on the map, as it became one of the crown jewels of the entire Cedar Fair chain. Alright, now let's talk stats. Fury 325 is a Giga coaster, meaning it stands at or has a drop of greater than or equal to 300 feet tall. As the name suggests, B&M and Cedar Fair didn't cheap out with this ride, as Fury 325 stands at a whopping height of 325 feet. To this day, Fury 325 is still the tallest coaster in the world that utilizes a traditional chain lift. With a track length of 6,601 feet and a ride duration of approximately 2 minutes, Fury 325 is one of the longest roller coasters in the world for both track length and duration. The first drop bottoms out at a whopping 320 feet with an angle of descent of 81 degrees. With that kind of momentum, it should come as no surprise that Fury reaches a blazing top speed of 95 miles per hour. Fury 325 has been open for over 7 years now, and it remains a marvel of the theme park industry to this day. It stands as a testament to what a manufacturer and park are able to accomplish with a big enough budget. The $30 million that Cedar Fair spent on it were definitely worth it. At that kind of a price tag, I guess it shouldn't be too surprising that Fury 325 doesn't have much of a theme at all. Sure, the park could have splurged a few more extra dollars to make it happen the way they did with Copperhead Strike just a few years later. But when a coaster becomes an icon unto itself, sometimes vast theming isn't necessary. Regardless, Fury 325 still does have a theme, and it's an interesting one, with a backstory that not many people are aware of. With one look at the logo for the ride, you're going to notice a hornet along with the teal and lime green color scheme. With Fury opening for the 2015 season, this could be seen as a nod to the area's NBA team, the Charlotte Hornets, who were renamed from the Bobcats that same season and sport a similar color scheme along with the same mascot. But Carowinds has never hinted at any relationship between the two. The initial inspiration for the Charlotte Hornets mascot originated way back when during the American Revolution, when the city of Charlotte was referred to as, quote, a hornet's nest of rebellion by General Cornwallis, the head general of the British Army at the time, because of the fierce resistance that patriots put up fighting to defend Charlotte. While this obviously isn't the clear inspiration for Fury 325, the roots of its story still match the ferocity that this ride still brings to the table. Fury 325's ride experience is world class, featuring a unique layout and elements not found anywhere else. To start out your ride, you're going to ascend the world's tallest chain lift at 325 feet above ground level. The lift moves fairly quickly, but still allows for incredible views of downtown Charlotte and the rest of the park. If all is well, you should also see another train pulling into the final brakes as the Fury crew works their magic. The operations on this coaster are just ridiculous. 3 trains are constantly rolling with minimal to no stacking whatsoever. The efficiency of this experience is something you can tell the Fury crew takes great pride in, and that I wish we could see at other theme parks across the country and the world. It makes the overall experience just that much better. At the end of the day, the less you have to wait in line, the more rides you can get, and the happier park guests will be throughout their visit. And the more money they'll spend at your parks. Carowinds is doing an all-around incredible job here. Six Flags, take note. Off of the record-breaking lift hill, you'll follow it up with Fury's 320-foot drop with possibly the greatest floater airtime of any other element in the world. I mean, this is seriously the closest you're going to get to riding the hooks in SpongeBob as you gracefully come back down into your seat at the bottom of the drop before absolutely hauling into the next element. If Fury is running at or near its full potential, don't be surprised if you start to gray out a little bit at the bottom of the first drop, as Fury can pull upwards of 4 positive Gs. Now that you've gotten the first drop out of the way, you're going to fly through what's called the barrel turn. This is essentially an overbanked turn that's 190 degrees around. You'll lose a little bit of speed, and I mean a little, before you drop back down to ground level and continue absolutely blazing through Fury's S-bend situated at the front entrance to the park. Fury 325 was built as a gatekeeper for Carowinds, and guests get to walk right beneath this element as it crosses into another state. As I hinted at earlier, Carowinds is located in both North Carolina and South Carolina. Most of its rides are situated in one state or the other. Fury 325 decided it wanted a piece of both Charlotte and Fort Mill, and it crosses the state line not once, but twice throughout its layout, with the first occurring during this S-bend as it passes from North Carolina into South Carolina. Overall, the S-bend provides some awesome lateral airtime and a cool interaction with guests as they enter and exit the park. Fury 325 completely transformed the entrance to Carowinds and made it one of the most welcoming entrance plazas in the entire world. Once again proving that adding new attractions makes your park more attractive overall and brings in more guests, believe it or not. You'll conclude the S-bend and enter one of the most unique and captivating coaster elements around, the triple clef. Inspired by the musical key, this horseshoe-like element will turn you around 157 degrees and set you up for your return trip to the station. You're going to hit the treble clef, maintaining a ton of speed as you climb up to its peak, making it the most intense moment on the ride in my opinion. Later in the day, as Fury continued to speed up, I was consistently starting to gray out and get the tingles in my feet here. Coming out of the treble clef, it's time to drop through the iconic Fury tunnel. During the day, it's not quite the same, but at night, with the bright neon green lights representing a beehive, this moment on the ride is such a nice touch. And as if you just entered South Carolina to begin with, it's already time to leave. The treble clef and tunnel occurs solely within South Carolina, but the rest of Fury takes place in North Carolina, beginning its return with a banked curve 101 feet off of the ground. In the middle of this banked curve is where you'll return back to Charlotte from Fort Mill to the south. Overall, this banked curve really serves as the transition for Fury, not just from state to state, but also for the overall ride experience itself. Fury 325's ride experience for the first half of the ride is really all about speed, staying close to the ground and showing off every ounce of it, whereas the second half becomes more compact and full of airtime. This banked curve also flies over the front entrance to the park with a similar interaction as the S-bend. The element itself doesn't do a whole lot different than the other elements in the first half of the ride, but it's sure to fling you around a little at what is still a blistering pace for any coaster. Okay, so now we've made it through almost an entire video about a B&M with clamshell restraints and still somehow haven't mentioned a camelback. But don't you worry, because they didn't forget about adding one of those to this ride whatsoever. So here's the 111 foot tall camelback that Fury whips you through coming out of the S-bend. Some would complain about the trims, but hear me out. The second that train hits these trims, you get jolted out of your seat, and this typically shaped B&M camelback turns into more of a flowjector hill. Every ride, without fail, I was getting launched over the top of this hill before gracefully coming back down into my seat. Now, don't get me wrong, I would still love to experience this element trimless, but I fully appreciate the way that this element and trim breaker profile to provide for that kind of airtime. Coming out of the camelback, unfortunately, your time on Fury is beginning to come to a close, but at least you've got this unique double helix and some more airtime to finish it off. A lot of double helixes out there are focused on blood draining intensity, especially on these B&Ms, but the one on Fury 325 does it with grace while continuing to show off its speed. It also gives you one of the best hand choppers around at the angle you fly by that one support. You'll wrap up the double helix with an immediate airtime hill, followed by a bank drop before popping up into the brakes to conclude your ride on one of the greatest roller coasters ever built. Fury 325 will take your breath away and give you coaster hair unlike any other, and it should come to nobody's surprise that I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Aside from the frame that the seatbelt is buckled to constantly slamming into my hip, I can't find anything else to critique this ride. Thank you Carowinds for building this legendary coaster. Thank you all for watching. That was my in-depth review of Fury 325, the B&M Giga coaster located at Carowinds. Have you ridden Fury 325? Let me know in the comments below, as well as what you thought of it. If you haven't already, be sure to drop the video a like, and subscribe to the channel as well for more roller coaster and theme park content just like this. If you want to follow me on Instagram as well, then you can find me there at Dr_Coaster. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.